Hello and welcome to another edition of Access Central TV. My name's Andy Herzman and I'm the host of the show. I want to thank you so much for tuning in and watching. It's going to be very interesting for sure. I have two interesting guests today. With me here is Jonathan Buchanan and also Tony Deluca. And I want to thank you both for coming and chatting on the show today.
Having us on the show.
Yes, my pleasure.
Well, thank you. All right, well, there's a lot of topics I wanted to talk about. I was just wondering, just as I was driving in, I saw gas prices really low. What do you think? Is that a good thing, or?
I've been saying it for years that if you want to, stimulate the economy, all you have to do is bring gas prices down really low. I know you're not going to agree with this because you'd like to see the opposite, but I think you'll see people driving more. I think you'll see prices on goods go lower because the expense for the movement of the goods will be lower. So it'd be a great way to stimulate the economy, lower, dropping those prices. I think it's a great thing. But temporarily, of course, not as a permanent solution.
Really?
Just to get the money going.
Okay, what about you?
I think it's detrimental to the economy. You have to have stable prices. Stable prices allow jobs. Jobs allow people to earn income. Income allows people to spend. You're seeing a lot of oil companies that are services that are involved in the oil industry who are laying off. This is going to have an impact. It's going to have a long-term effect. We need to see oil and gas at a stable price. I think part of it is there's a massive glut which is causing prices at this level. But in the long term, it's actually going to do more harm than good. It's a short-term solution. Yes, it helped around the holidays. It allowed people to have more capital in their pockets. But a long-term solution is going to end up affecting a lot of people. The oil and gas industry employs millions of people. And I don't want to see those people lose their jobs if these prices continue to decline at these levels.
But let me ask you, why is there such a huge change in the price? Don't you think it should have been that low were we getting ripped off this whole time while it was high? Who's making all that extra money?
Well, we have to take into consideration there's a lot of things that are in the factor of petroleum. You have the cost of getting the leases. You have to get the landmen or women to get out there and find the leases to put them together. You have to spend the money on the scientists to find out where the oil is, how deep, the formations, and how they're going to go about getting it. And then you have to get the equipment and the supplies to drill into the earth. You have to frack it, pull it out. Once you get it, you have to store it. From storing it, you have to transport it to the refinery. Once it's at the refinery, it has to be refined into many different types of fuels: diesel, super, unleaded. There's petrochemicals, etc. For those, Vaseline is a petrochemical. Once it's there, it then has to be transported again, either to an airport, to a gas station. It's converted into heating oil. These are all the costs that go into, right now, oil, I believe, dipped a little under $50 a barrel. But these are all the various costs, and this is why when you see $70 a barrel, $80 a barrel, $100 a barrel, it's the cost. And then you also have the political uncertainty in certain regions that cause an inflation in price as well. Right. So you have situations in the Middle East. Right now we have a situation with Russia going into Crimea, causing a little bit of unrest there. All of this can cause prices to also increase and can cause anywhere from a $10 to $15, sometimes $20 premium on top of what the real price should be.
All right, but you were talking about refinery costs, and that has nothing really to do with the cost of a barrel, like a raw crude thing. So that's why I'm a little confused.
Well, no, the cost of getting it out is one cost.
Right.
Then you have the refining cost.
Right.
Then you have the transportation cost, which the transportation cost is on two sides. It's from the raw crude to the refinery, and then from the refinery to wherever it's going. So that's the whole cost of what it ends up costing you at the gas pump.
Right. So what makes it actually swing the most? In other words, is it the actual cost of the raw, the barrel?
Well, it could be a series of things. It could be political or economic situations taking place overseas. Okay. It can be the fact that right now we have sort of a large glut of shell oil and gas, as well as other projects that are going on. So when you have all of that oil that's on the market and there isn't enough demand for all of it, that brings prices down.
Okay.
Basic economics, the more demand you have for a product, the less of it is, the higher the price, and vice versa the other way around.
Okay.
Can I say something, Andy?
Please, by all means.
We talk about oil like the energy industry as though it's the center of the universe. There are a lot of other industries out there in our economy overall. It's very important and it's very big. There's no question about that.
Right.
But if used properly, additionally, you can't overlook the fact that its importance is diminishing with the rise of alternative energy solutions such as solar energy, windmill usage, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So at some point in the future, maybe even in our lifetimes, it'll be a very insignificant and small part of our economy. At the moment, it's very big, and they do employ a lot of people. I'm not attacking you, Jonathan, and I don't want you to feel like that. I know you don't work for an oil company, but you're heavily invested in it. But I just feel like it should be used as a tool to stimulate the economy when it's depressed.
It gives a lot of people extra money that they normally wouldn't have.
What I'm concerned is this shift to alternatives. The shift,
What are you afraid of? Electric cars?
Well, no. What I'm afraid of is that the hype is more than what it's producing. So the windmills, these wind turbines, they're not producing enough energy. Solar is not producing enough energy.
Right, but they're producing something.
but
Everything helps, right?
Something is better than nothing. But you can't run a city on wind turbines.
Oh, that's
You
not true.
can't
It's
run.
been done.
You can't run a city on solar panels. They can contribute some power, but
I think Tony
I don't believe that a wind turbine farm. It would have to be a massive farm of massive scale to provide enough power for Manhattan.
What do you think?
To a certain extent, I would have agreed with you just yesterday. But as a matter of fact, just today, there was a story in the news about Scotland being only a decade or two away from being completely off fossil fuels for their energy.
Right.
The grid is going to be supplied completely by alternative energy sources. So we're not far from it. It's within reach,
The Scottish population, maybe
That's
somewhere
true. Okay,
around
I'll give you
the
that.
population of Manhattan.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about a city. We live in New York, so we've all been in Manhattan.
Right.
The amount of power and energy that the city takes in, it absorbs on a daily basis. Those wind turbines are going to have to spin every day, nonstop,
Sure,
365.
well, but if you can do it on a small scale, can't you do it on a bigger scale?
Well, if they're not spinning,
Yeah.
then the cost of what it took to build them is not recuperating. And I know some people feel, well, someone has to spend the money for the better good, but I don't believe in wasting money. I don't disagree in making good investments.
Okay.
But I don't want to waste money if there's no outcome. Solar panels, I think, are more practical. I think that
Well, they're getting better.
they're getting
the
better and they're more
technology's getting there,
practical.
but it's still.
But I think this geothermal, the wind turbines, this is
well, they all
fairy
contribute,
tales
though.
that are not producing enough
I don't know about
energy.
fairy tales, but come on, they work. They just don't, But
The other thing too, you had mentioned the battery-powered vehicles. This is another atrocity.
atrocity, he calls it. Whoa.
The infrastructure is not in place. It's a waste of money. I know that right now there's this sort of momentum with Tesla and other battery-powered vehicles, but they're not being mass-produced at an efficient rate that makes it more affordable for the masses.
Okay.
If you're someone with means, you can afford to buy one of these cars as a luxury for leisure.
Right.
But as a reliable source of transportation, this is not the type of vehicle that a middle-class person or working-class person can buy. The infrastructure is not in place for someone to take a Tesla across state. Not in the same way where you could
No,
stop
you
at
can
a
actually
gas
drive
station.
across country with
Not in
them
the
now.
same way that you can just stop at a gas station, fill up, and go about your business. The other thing too is that powering these batteries in these cars, it takes a long time. I don't want to travel from New York to California and have to wait a half hour at each location to power up the battery. That makes my
Well,
trip
I
longer.
kinda
It
agree
makes
with
it
you on
more
that.
frustrating. So they have to get the technology to the point where if I plug it in,
Uh-huh.
it's going to be able to charge within minutes, and then I can go about my
Well,
business. And
I
it's
just
not
heard
there
that
yet.
Tesla has a new technology where you can stop and swap your batteries instantly. Takes you know.
But that's the again.
So that would take less time than to actually fill up a gas tank. Yeah.
But that's not even that practical. I mean,
Why
swap
not?
the battery.
Yeah, it takes.
It's not done by the person. It's done by the
No,
station,
yeah,
service
you go to
station,
the
right?
station, they swap it out like it's
Yeah.
they take one out, put one in,
It's
boom,
still
done.
quicker for me to fill up. It'll take me a couple minutes. Swapping the battery to me is unpractical.
Okay. Well,
They'll put that to the test someday. There'll be a
Yeah,
little contest to see who
absolutely.
can fill up a tank or swap a battery out.
yeah. Well, what I wanted to say also is, just to switch gears here since it's only a half-hour show, but there are people who call up the show and have, give their opinions, and we always welcome opinions. The number, by the way, is area code 631-440-6012, and there's an answer machine there. You could leave your opinions, and we'll play them on the air. As a matter of fact, we have one person who called up, and we wanted to play back what he had to say. So let's take a listen.
You're right. Those red light cameras are just a fix by Nassau County and Suffolk County to make money for the county. They don't even give you a warning, no warning lights. They put up a sign in a day. They move a mobile unit there, and they nail you. It's ridiculous. It's a 20-mile-per-hour zone. If you're going 21 miles per hour, you get a ticket. Just a moneymaker.
So that was pertaining to the red light cameras, actually the speed cameras that they set up. And I just wanted to point out that they'd only, Nassau County took them down, and Suffolk County, didn't even bother putting them up at this point because they realized,
Admission of wrong, an admission of guilt, the fact that they're taking them down, or is it just?
Well, that's what I wanted to ask. Is like, I think it's a good example of how the people have power. And if they speak up loud enough, they'll get what they want. So it's not just government having power. We have power over the government. But, we have to pick issues that are worthy,
Right.
and, make sure that we get our way. We shouldn't let the government take over. It's supposed to be a democracy.
Absolutely.
Right? So, personally, I don't like any of the cameras, the red light cameras or the speed cameras, because I think they're unconstitutional. If you let a camera give you a ticket, how are you supposed to fight that in court? You're supposed to be able to, face your accuser and
Right.
how you cross-examine a camera.
Camera doesn't tell the whole picture. It's a picture, and it's you can't argue against a picture.
Well, it's video, but
But how do you know that you didn't stop, for instance, under the red light when there was a deer off in the distance or a ball rolling across the street? The picture won't show you that.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of things that that the camera doesn't show, or maybe the camera wasn't working right, or who knows. But the thing is, if once you let electronics give you tickets, it's a slippery slope. Our police here on Long Island, they make over $200,000 a year, some of them. So let them give out the tickets. That's constitutional.
I agree with that completely. They spent millions of dollars putting up these cameras, disturbing traffic by putting up these cameras, changing the whole layout of the way things were before they put up these cameras to make it convenient for the cameras. They should have allocated that money to hiring more police. It would have created jobs, put the police at the intersections and let them hand out the tickets, let them direct the traffic, let them give tickets to anyone blowing a red light. But to put up these cameras, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. It's another example of people who live in Nassau and Suffolk County seeing their tax money getting wasted.
Yeah, it's really frustrating to me. I think, like you said, why not let the cops give out the tickets? That would be the constitutional way of doing it.
We need to create jobs.
Sure,
and,
that's another.
These are, hiring police is work.
Right.
So.
Absolutely. And another thing is when it's a slippery slope like that, and any kind of electronics that will give you a ticket. what's going to happen in the future if we allow this, you know?
I'm afraid of. Go ahead.
Yeah, you'll have cops patrolling the street, artificial intelligence, robots, you know, because society will be fully automated. I'm against automation, you know, unless it's absolutely necessary. Like for instance, you know, in the case of Fukushima, you had a nuclear disaster. You want, you know, you don't want to send a person in there. Why expose them to a danger? In some cases, you need something that's automated.
Right.
So that should, you know.
But when it comes to, like, you know, driving and tickets and all that, I mean, a human being writing out a ticket, you know, you can cross-examine them in court. You can fight it. And, you know, the problem, again, I have is, like, you know, in the future, if we let this happen, you know, pretty soon it's going to cost you $50 every time you take your car out because, you know, they'll get you on every little tiny thing, you know, like, oh, your front tire hit the double yellow line, or, you know, you didn't make a complete stop, or you didn't, you know, I mean, every little tiny detail, they'll give you a giant, you know, $100 ticket. And how is that going to, you know, what's that have to do with safety? You know, I mean, come on.
Well, Tony had mentioned this whole buildup of machines and technology doing everything. It's not going to have a positive effect.
Right.
It's going to have a negative effect. You're seeing it across the post office with all the shipping now, you know, everything going via the internet. They're having issues. Mail is not getting sent out anymore. Technology is replacing a lot of physical people who did manufacturing and jobs.
Right.
And at some point, these machines are going to replace the police, and it's going to also take out that one-on-one element where maybe you had a chance to explain yourself and the police officer had a little sympathy and said, okay, go ahead, go about your business.
Right.
But these machines don't bring that human element to things.
Right.
And it can have a long-term effect. I mean, it is already with the amount of cell phone usage and the computer usage and just the lack of people communicating and having a one-on-one experience. And the machines are going to be detrimental to people's health later on, and just how they conduct themselves and how they deal with situations. These red light cameras, it's the same thing. I mean, they're actually they're causing more accidents. You know, they're not making the roads safer. I mean, there may be less front end accidents, but there's more back end accidents.
Right. People slamming on their brakes and getting rear-ended.
You know, I find it just my own self when I'm driving that people are stopping at the yellow light and they're not going past the yellow light, even though there's plenty of time to pass the yellow light before it turns red.
Right.
So in essence, they're holding up traffic, which ends up backing things up and possibly causing an accident.
Yeah.
So they're doing a disadvantage, not a proactive.
Well, especially here on Long Island, where we have such congestion as it is, it's overpopulation.
It's not a proactive answer. You know, the answer might be is to start teaching drivers very early on to drive a certain way. For instance, like you said, you know, you see a yellow light, don't try and run through it. Slow down. You know.
Right. Exactly.
Those are the things we should be instilling in young drivers. So maybe that's what we need to do. You know, those very early years, just teach the right way of driving, the proper ways of driving. It's a proactive approach. This is going to...
And the other thing, too, I want to pinpoint, and this is more towards the politicians, if you need more revenue, grow the economy.
There you go,
okay?
Right?
Don't ask for my tax money.
Right.
Don't try to ticket me. Bring business into the island.
Sure.
Real estate development, reusage of property. Find ways, be creative to generate revenue.
That makes sense.
Don't find ways to pull it out of my pocket by using red light cameras and raising my taxes. You know, there's many communities that are overtaxed, and you know, you look at the community and you wonder, what are you getting for all the taxes that you're paying? And in some cases, they're not getting much. So you know, grow the economy through economics, through stimulation, through bringing businesses in, manufacturing. Let people entrepreneur. Let them build their restaurants, their stationery stores. Get out of the way. Stop making it difficult for people to improve their lives through entrepreneurship.
Right. How much time we got left of this show, by the way? I don't even know. Oh, okay. So we got about 10 minutes left. I just have one more topic I wanted to cover. I find it interesting. I don't know. A lot of people don't even know about it, and I don't know about you guys what you think about it. But if you want, it's called Bitcoin. It's a new currency. right? It's been around, I forgot, since 2000 something. It's been around 4 or 5 years, whatever. But sometimes it makes big headlines, right? You know. I brought over, if you want to hold it up, one of you guys here, I got a couple of these paper wallets. Yeah, hold it up
right
to
there,
yeah,
Andy?
right there.
Like that?
And so people can get a look at it.
Can you see that, cameraman?
That's called a paper wallet, but mostly it's, you know, you can actually put Bitcoins on a paper wallet and
This is an actual Bitcoin.
This is an actual Bitcoin paper
Why is
wallet.
the back blank? It's backed by nothing, or what does that mean?
Well, just like the U.S. dollar, it's backed by nothing. But
No, it's not. That's not
Backed
true.
by the United States.
That's
It's a
not
big
true.
difference.
You're off to a bad start.
It's a big difference.
This is, you know, I drove here today in my fiat, and that's the only time I want to see that word. I don't want a fiat currency.
yeah.
A currency enacted by a law. That's what this is.
But it's what I like about it is it's actually market.
Why am I
driven.
holding it up? You should be holding it up.
Well, yeah, but I don't, you know.
Let me pull out a
Yeah.
George Washington.
But no, I think it's pretty interesting because it's not, no one controls it. No government controls it. No bank controls it.
That's part of the problem.
Well,
That's a big
I
part
thought
of
you
the
liked
problem.
free market, though.
I'm a free market
That's too
capitalist,
free.
absolutely. But,
It's too free? Is there
but
such a
there
thing?
also has to be practical approaches to things.
Okay.
And Bitcoin is not practical.
Why
It's
not?
not because it's not backed by anything. You said that.
Yeah.
At least the dollar I use, the greenback,
Yeah.
it's backed by the United States. And if something does go wrong with the greenback, there is someone, at least 3 people that will respond to it: the president, the secretary of the Treasury, and the Federal Reserve chairman.
with Bitcoin?
There's no oversight with
No,
Bitcoin.
but that's the whole charm of it because
No,
Charm?
that's the problem.
there's no
that's
oversight
the
with
risk.
gold either. There's no oversight with silver.
But
there's no-
I can sell my gold. My gold
I
has a
can sell my
monetary value.
Bitcoins.
You could, but I'd rather the
Well-
gold. At least the gold I can wear and make it into jewelry. It's got a history to it that dates
Yeah, but
back
you
over
can't-
1,000
what's
years
nice with
that
Bitcoin-
Bitcoin doesn't. I
Yeah.
mean, there's whole cultures
Yeah.
that create their civilization.
Like if you wanted to
around
buy
gold.
a candy bar with gold, you have to take a little sliver
Right.
off of it. You know, Bitcoin, you can actually, it's just like, you know.
A
it's-
currency is a consensus, and we've
Yeah.
already reached a consensus on what that currency is going to be.
Yeah.
So to try and create a new one out of nothing.
Yeah, but it does have value. I mean, you can trade it in for dollars.
The volatility of Bitcoin is a big factor. I mean, just recently it shot down like $51 within one day. I mean, this is a very
Yeah, but gold
risky,
does that too. The stock market does that.
But gold is a tangible asset that has real value. It is backed by something that's real. I can hold it, I can carry it, and I can barter or trade with it. There's whole entire cultures and economies that are based around gold. I can buy gold, I can give gold to someone as a form of
But
payment.
everything you said, you could do with Bitcoin. You could hold it, you can carry it, you can use it to buy things.
I can't make Bitcoin into jewelry, and I can do that with gold.
I want to wear this
But-
as a
but,
jewelry. Here you go. Look at that.
That's not enough of a reason.
I don't know.
Didn't something happen today in London?
Yeah, actually, one of the second largest exchanges lost $19 million. I mean, this is the same thing with the Mt. Gaunt situation where they lost 63 million. The second exchange in the UK lost 19,000 bitcoins, equals something like $19 million. I mean, this is the risk that
they
people
suspended
take.
trading on the.
They suspended trading.
Right,
I
but-
mean, this.
Wait,
But this happens.
Hold on a
very-
second.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay.
So does that mean that if I have bitcoins and I'm in London,
Yeah.
and that's all I have in my wallet,
Yeah.
I can't use it
Why not?
because trading is suspended.
You
that
can
what that-
still you can still buy if a store accepts Bitcoin. You can
But not
spend
if
them.
the central.
There's no
server-
central. That's the whole point. There is no. See, but what you're talking about, these exchange places, they do not control the currency. They're just. It's like one bank going under doesn't mean the whole dollar is destroyed. You know what I'm saying? It's like people.
But there's no credibility to this currency.
Of course there is.
I'll give you an example. This currency, this here, well,
Yeah.
it's not a currency. It's another form
Well,
of payment that is currently trending. That's trendy.
Yeah, so
and at
far.
some point, somebody will replace it with something else, and then there'll be another discussion about that.
Okay.
But this, if it was back, let's say hypothetically, BNY Mellon decided, we're going to become the authority over Bitcoin. We're going to regulate it. We're going to do the whole conversion. Then that would bring some stability to it and some credibility to it because there's a major bank behind it. A real bank
But that's
that,
the whole
that
point.
conducts
Is they
real
don't want
business.
banks behind it. It's the whole point.
And that's part of the problem why it's risky. I mean, it's basically
Everything's risky. Buying a stock is
Warren
risky.
Buffett and Charlie Munger were doing an interview, and they said it was rat poison. And these are two people who are multi-billionaires.
That's 'cause they
who
don't
trade
like it.
in and
They
out
can't
of the
control it.
exchange. It's nothing about control. It's
Sure.
about risk. You
No,
don't want to place your
you're talking
money in
about
something
regulation.
that
That's
you
control.
can destroy. They will get ruined.
Yeah, I'm not recommending it for the average user.
No, neither am I.
Really?
In fact, it's used. It's been used to do transactions, illegal transactions
Yeah,
online.
but so is regular money. And and a lot of companies are using this now. You could buy an airline ticket.
Yeah, but specifically,
or
Bitcoin is used
buy
because
Dell
it's,
computers with it.
because there's anonymity with it. Am I right?
Yeah, but
yeah.
so is cash. I mean, you can buy drugs with cash.
Buy something with cash online.
But if you
buy.
did a drug deal with cash, who's going to know about it?
Well, but
it's
once
just
you try to move that cash through the banking system, it becomes harder. With Bitcoin, time and time again, if you see these black markets that are trading in people's information, stolen credit cards, identity, things of that nature, they take payment in Bitcoin because there's no trail. They won't take wire transfers. They want sources sent. They want income sent to them for payment that has no trail to it. And Bitcoin is becoming one of those things. You're seeing drug cartels using it, mafia using it, because it's a way for them to cloak their money in a way that can't be found.
What it comes down to is at the end of the show.
Yeah.
When
Oh,
you're
here we
going to
go.
get paid, do you want to get paid with this, or do you want to get paid with one of these?
Good question.
I
Well,
do
on that
like-
note, we're running out of time, but that's a good question. Personally, I wouldn't mind getting paid in Bitcoin, but that's me. Anyway, the show is about down. I want to thank you both for coming in today and talking.
You're welcome.
And,
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you
Please
for
tune
having
in
us.
next week also for the next show. So until then, I want to thank you for watching and see you next week.